and I'm taking issue with the cult, with the hierarchy, because there are some lovely, lovely brethren in there who I don't want to harm, but they've just got to stand up for truth. Well, on this wonderful Sunday morning, we're here to really expose the darkness in cults, and particularly the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. Since my last video with dear Samuel Kelsey, I went straight that evening to the Rotherham police, reported the death of Jim Hutchinson, my friend inside, who reached out to me just a week before he died, under tremendous psychological pressure from cult leaders, especially Mike Hughes, Charlie Thomas and other, Dick Long, John West, other top men. And the clinic his wife went to in Barnsley back in 2015 reached out to me, I think it was 2016. Lance, take issue with the hierarchy in the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, because Louise is a lovely, lovely woman. She shouldn't be in here, and her problems all relate to the church. So I tried taking that up, and look where I am now, £2.5 million later, spent on trying to defend myself, losing my family, losing my business, my money being frozen, losing my religion, losing all my friends that I knew, having to start a new life. God's good. It's all overruled, all in the plan. I was obviously selected to do this. Nobody was doing it. This cult has developed from being a wonderful, wonderful religion in the early 50s, slowly transforming itself into a cult with the Hales influence from 1958, when they get hold of Jim Taylor Jr., right through to today. And now it's just a monstrosity. And I'm taking issue with the cult, with the hierarchy, because there are some lovely, lovely brethren in there who I don't want to harm, but they've just got to stand up for truth. Just rely on the Lord to make a stand against evil as per the original teaching of the church, and come forward and step forward and join me and join Jim Hutchinson in his last words. The truth will win. If you stand for truth, you're on strong, rock-solid ground. And you might be maligned initially, but you will win in the end. The truth will win. Please allow Jim Hutchinson's words into your hearts. The whole world needs this. The whole world, not just the PBCC, because everything's gone off track. The government, the police, dominated by the legal system, fear, and we need bringing back to morals, basics, heart, soul stuff, kindness, love, grace, peace, all the stuff that makes the world a lovely place to live. And we want to bring our kids up into loving environments where they haven't got to be fearful of punishment for doing nothing wrong, basically. And that's how crazy the system can get. So, having gone to the police, I've got an event number, or an instant number as we call it in the UK, number SYP, South Yorkshire Police, 2024 0703 0867. And, you know, I'm concerned about this slavery, people born into a cult. They don't know any different. So if you're born in, 1990s, 2000s, you don't know really what went on back in the 50s. So you think it's always been as it is, always been a cult. No, it hasn't. So we need to bring young people into tow to understand, listen to their forebears, maybe those in their 80s, if there are any left, who would have an assessment of what went on in the 50s. The only brother I can think of is Duncan Hulbert from Knaresborough, Harrogate. And if he's an honest man, I believe, and if he's given space and scope, because he would never push himself, if he's given space, he will tell the brethren from inside what the situation really is. Mercifully, my son, Jed, who I love a lot, lives virtually next door to him. So if they just speak heart to heart, get this right, Jed and Duncan could be a big force for good in the whole religion, to bring people back to their senses. and take issue with those that have just been on the bandwagon, doing the right thing by the leader and getting places and getting money and becoming very wealthy for the wrong reasons. Not because they've worked hard, but because they've been put into position by a leader that's off the moral track. Let's put it that way. So I've thought hard about the parallels in history. I've thought about the war and whether the Haleses picked up ideas from the way that Hitler managed to manipulate the money system in order to get into power and then become the supreme leader of Germany. Lovely German people, but they all kind of had to subscribe to the leader. And I've thought about Scientology, which came into being during the 40s and 50s and managed to get credibility in the eyes of government to the extent of getting charitable status. I've thought a lot about the post office scandal and the number of suicides that went on there. I think it was 11, it's all been in the press. And the nastiness from the vicious computer giants who wield so much power, bullying power and control, akin, if you like, to religious power, which is so strong because a charismatic leader appears to be accredited from God, from the divine, man of God, whatever you like to call them. And you can get business leaders, nasty bullies, wielding the same sort of power. So of course, computer giants can crush dissenters. And so I see quite a parallel with what's been going on in the Christian church with what has been exposed in the post office. So what I've done, unlike having this unholy wrangle which is going on now, whereby the legal people are passing the parcel and jumping around and wondering how much compensation, which is another crisis in itself, it's taking years. I've actually named my price. I've already been to my lawyers with compensation that's due to be paid to victims of the cult who've lost their families, been close to suicide, psychological slavery, and all the stuff that's been going on. And I've actually issued an invoice to my brother Garth for £2.5 million. Bruce Hales, I've written to him and said he owes me £6.5 million. And now I've just more recently written to my two local trustees, come controllers, come priests, Clive Anderson and Roger Edwards, in the form of an affidavit, basically saying that the cults owe me funds to put right the damage that they've caused, to the extent that I'm wanting to set up a whole international army, you might say, or care circle of counsellors and lawyers who can work with me to put right the damage. In other words, bring members who have been in the church all their lives through retreats, safe places, safe houses, so that they can be deprogrammed and able to face the world, so that they don't have to go through what I've been through. Not only through the vicious punishing system of the church that I was in, but then they chuck you over to the legal system and put you in jail and try and turn you bankrupt, which is not anything that I would wish on anybody. We were a family worth £10 million back in the day, so I've had just about sufficient resource to get through. I'm hanging on to this place, Noblethorpe Hall, for dear life now, because of the viciousness of the battle against me, led by Bruce Hales of Sydney. So what I'm also mindful of is that Anthony Albanese, the Australian Prime Minister, has called the Brethren out as a cult, which is very powerful. It means that this matter really needs looking into very closely by the Australian government and especially New South Wales Parliament, who passed the New South Wales Stewards Foundation of Christian Brethren Act, very, very dodgy, which allows slavery in wholesale. Cradle to grave slavery, because there's no accountability. The church is so special, such worthy businessmen, special people, you might say God's assembly, right up there. They don't need to be answerable to a court of law. I mean, that is putting them into a race, I suppose, a bit like, as though they're special, so sinless, so godlike, but they're not. The fact is that it's terrible. They're punishing. They're just the opposite to God's grace and love. And so they need calling to account. And this law needs exposing and I think repealing. And those that have had anything to do with its inception need calling out. And they need to be brave enough to offer themselves up and say, yes, we got this wrong. We realise the fruits of the tree are bad, and join together to call for its repeal and support Sue Higginson, MLC, the Greens MP, in a lone vigil that she appears to be fighting to get this law repealed. And we've had the Law Commission call out the fact that there's no provision for leavers. So, in other words, your assets can be seized by the leader, by the spiritual leader of the church and his men, his system, if you're put out. There's no provision for leavers, like me, in that act that went through. And it appears that they're bullying lawyers and bullying the police and banks to use that New South Wales laws in other countries, illegally, of course, accepted. And you might say the legal system should call them out, but my lawyers didn't pick it up. And I believe it was being used from 2017 on me when they shut me up. So it's not easy for the legal system in the UK. And of course, even now my lawyers are tend to say, no, we don't think they've used it. It's vicious enough without it. It's nasty enough without it. They don't need the Stewards Act. But I believe that it is being used, and that's the credibility that Bruce Hales has given himself for this reign of terror that he's exercising on anybody that questions him or doubts him or says he's not everything he should be, which is awful, awful, awful. So I intend to just explain that the organisation that seems to fit the Brethren straitjacket as much as anything is what's called the Rum Corps, officially known as the New South Wales Corps, a military regiment established in the late 18th century in the colony of New South Wales, Australia. So I'll just give a quick overview as to how they operate. Formation and purpose. The Corps were formed in 1800 to provide military support for the growing penal colony. Its primary role was to maintain order and provide defence against potential threats. Connection to rum. The Corps became infamous for its involvement in the rum trade. Officers and soldiers often engaged in the illicit trade of rum, which was a valuable commodity in the colony. They used their military power to control the distribution and sale of rum, leading to a significant influence over the colony's economy. Very controlling over the economy. Now, the Brethren used whiskey. I'd never liked whiskey, so I hardly drank it when I was in there, probably to my saving. But I do love rum, black rum particularly, that's my favourite. But to actually use drink to get control is very interesting. My friend Jim Hutchinson was accused of being a drunk, drinking. No, he wasn't. And his wife, no, they were not drunks. So I'm accused of being a heretic. No, I'm not a heretic. You can put these labels on people, defame them so that their word is not credible. And all the Brethren carry on regardless of my voice, Jim's voice. But I'm bringing this to bear because this has gone on far too long. Leadership and corruption. The Corps were led by officers who often acted more like merchant traders than soldiers. This blurred the lines between military and commercial interests, leading to widespread corruption. The Corps had a strong grip on the colonies' administration, which allowed them to manipulate trade regulations to benefit their rum business. Conflict with authority. The power of the Rum Corps eventually led to conflicts with other authorities in the colony, including Governor William Bligh, who attempted to curtail their influence. This culminated in the Rum Rebellion of 1808, where the Corps overthrew Bligh, resulting in a brief military dictatorship. 5. Decline. After the rebellion, the influence of the Rum Corps waned. The British government took steps to rein in their power, leading to the disbandment of the Corps in 1810. See, the British government were powerful in those days, the British Empire. Many former members transitioned into civilian roles, continuing their involvement in trade and commerce, particularly in rum. Overall, the Rum Corps played a significant role in the early history of New South Wales, impacting its economic development and governance. Their legacy is a complex mix of military authority, trade, and political intrigue. And then I've actually asked, along with my friend Ray Carter in Bathurst, New South Wales, AI, this amazing artificial intelligence system that I believe is being used of God to call evil people out, call devious people out, call those out who are manipulating, because it can actually pull information together from all sorts of sources. It doesn't invent anything, it just is an information gatherer, which I've been myself. But now this is all available to lawyers and government, police. They just have to ask the right question and get answers based on evidence from all around the world. It's a wonderful system, and I think it's going to not only put a lot of lawyers, clerks out of work, so they have to think about their future, it's going to transform the world, because I think in God's way it'll mean that dishonest people, bullies, people who make life a misery for others, whether they're in a church or in business or a neighbourhood, institution, they will be called out, because good people will write in and lodge the information they've got on these people in the system, rather than going to the police, which tends to be tortuous, long-winded, and the police seem to have a remit that they don't get involved in smaller conflicts. So there's a lot that's passing through the hands of the police that's not being taken issue with, that should. So I think this AI is a massive step forward in world affairs, because it can be used for benefits. Now, of course, criminals are so nasty that they will be trying to be one step ahead and work out how to negate the influence of AI. But I think it's a very powerful tool, and governments, good men in the world, should get hold of it and make sure that it's not being corrupted by evil communications. Therein lies the test. So that's my little bit on AI, and I'm now going to suggest that I do one or two shorter videos just going over some specific questions that I've asked AI and the answers that are being spewed out, because they actually will expose the truth of the PBCC organisation, which I fear are just typical of other organisations, maybe Scientology and other devious organisations, cults around the world. And so it'll help to call them out, so that the leaders have to throw in the towel, admit they're wrong, do the brave thing, fess up to the way they've hurt people, the way they've been stealing money, manipulating people for their money, getting stronger and stronger on the back of money, corporate greed, the awful mix of business and religion, which should never be, it's outlawed by scripture, the way religious leaders push hapless, excommunicated congregants through the legal system, quite wicked, to crush them mentally, ruin their lives, ruin their families, so that they're left in the gutter, as the expression is, that's what Mike Hughes said about Jim Hutchinson. He wants him in the gutter so that Mike Hughes can go and lift him out, just so he can manipulate him. He's given up and smashed. How horrible. I literally took issue with Mike Hughes, and he's not repented to this day. That would be a good start if that would happen, because that was the start of my, along with a guy called Keith Birch in Nottingham, who was quite nasty over his prisoner Ray Story in Nottingham. These are the two guys that put a report into my brother Garth, who was the leader in the UK, put it straight up to Bruce Hales. Hales turned against me, and that was the end of me. So it's too easily done in this world of ours. So this needs to be called out, and I intend now to spend a few minutes using the AI answers to expose to everybody how evil this group has become. In saying that, some lovely people, I love the individuals, I love them all, but they need to get out of the evil or judge the evil that's rampant in that system today. Thank you.